All right, welcome to another episode of Political Gurus. We're looking at all the events that happen in America and what's good for America. We're going to be focusing on Mamdani today. So Mamdani, we all know he came in with a socialist agenda, and also, although people don't mention it, a very strong anti-Israel agenda, saying that he was totally against the genocide. It was an outright genocide, and he was, in general, standing up for a sort of revolutionary spirit that must come out of Palestine. Not necessarily backing Hamas, but he wasn't necessarily against them either. And yesterday, on October the 7th, he did a press release in which he remembered October 7th and said it was a horrible action by Hamas and it was a terrible terrorist strike. And then also he said, but U.S. and Israel are part of this genocide too, trying to plead both sides. I take offense as a leftist to his statement about October the 7th being terrible. He mentioned numbers. They killed 1,100 certain people. And it goes back to what you said, Kunle. This has not been proven how many people Hamas killed, how many were soldiers, how many were citizens, how many were killed by Israel, if Israel had used the Hannibal Directive. But it just goes to show you how Mamdani is softening his stance on Israel because they met with him after he won the what you call it, the primaries, and they said you've refused to condemn the word intifada. Intifada means uprising of Arabic people for their liberation. They said you, and so what he says, well, I won't mention it myself, but I won't condemn it. But then later on, he took after meeting with the Jewish leaders in Israel, he said, I spoke to the rabbi, and that word could incite violence in America, so now I'm against it. It just goes to show you how he's softening his position. He's supposed to be taking a strong position. First of all, he's supposed to say, I don't care about what's going on with Israel because I'm working on New York. So Israel is not my business. But as an individual, I am against what Israel is doing in Palestine and it affects America in general. But he's taking a softer position. And it's very dangerous for him to frame October the 7th and to even speak to October the 7th, which is what Israel uses for justifying its genocide, and say, oh, it was a horrible event by Hamas and these groups, because that's what controls the narrative and allows the West to give a rationale for this genocide, because they'll say that it was an act of terrorism, when in fact, if you really study it, it was actually part of a war that's been going on since the 1940s, in which an occupied country defended itself by attacking Israel. And yes, some citizens were killed. So to me, primarily, it was not a terrorist strike. It was a tactical strike in a bigger war that Hamas is looking for liberation of Gaza. And for Mamdani to say things like that, he can't call himself pro Gaza anymore, because this is how narrative, this is how slavery is justified in America. This is how Nazism comes. It goes by giving up smaller truths. He needs to, and the truth that he's giving away is that was just an attack, unprovoked attack that was terrorist rather than, as far as I'm concerned, a military attack. And that's the one little subtle thing that these politicians keep on using to justify the genocide. We don't want to argue that revenge genocide is not justified for revenge. We because it's not even revenge. What Israel is doing to Gaza is not based on an illegal attack on Israel. It's based on them wanted to continue their extinguishing the population of people from that area to take the land. So Mamdani's is playing right into their hands by saying, "Oh yes, well this was bad what Hamas did," because then what you're doing is you're giving a justification for the West, saying that what's happening to Hamas is they deserve it and they need to get rid of they need to give back the what is it, the hostages and things. It keeps the moral authority in the hands of the West. What are your thoughts, Kunle? Yeah.
Yes, in Mandani's defense to what you said, which is actually all very true, the even the most harshest critics in the West, the Ziteos and the Bashams of this world, have all started off by saying what happened on October the 7th was a terrible tragedy. But you and I know that it was a false flag attack, and
Yeah.
that most of the victims were actually killed via the
Yeah.
Hannibal Directive. And this is not coming from Hamas. This is coming from Haaretz News in Israel
Yeah.
and all the other informations in Israel. Now, Mandani has taken the approach that he's going to join the moderate to soft people that are opposed to what's going on. So he's saying that he's condemning it because mainstream media still controls that narrative, and you'd be surprised that there are still millions of people that still don't know about the Hannibal Directive or still think of it like a conspiracy theory. That mainstream media, I do believe they believe that they're still managing to
Okay, but Kunle, but here's the point.
destabilize people.
It goes deeper than that. See, these narratives that people make are what justify genocide.
Yes,
Not only, am I
yes,
finished?
it
Not only is
is.
he taking a moderate, he's actually denying that there was an occupation of Gaza. And leading up to that October the 7th strike, they were going into holy places and settlers were taking land from people with the help of IDF, taking land from people in Gaza, not Palestine, in Gaza. They were beginning to take land. They were going in there, killing young men, saying that the young men were Hamas. They also had a list that if you're an Israeli person and you go into Gaza to sleep with somebody from Gaza, you have to write your name down. So it was an occupied land. And for him to say it was a terrorist strike is to rewrite history, to say that the occupation didn't matter, which is what is justifying this genocide. And he should know better because he grew up in Kampala. He grew up in South Africa, and he has ties with Islam. And his dad is a professor, so he knows the inside outs. So for him to, he knows what he's doing. He's playing the game of not saying the whole truth for political power and money. He should be ashamed of himself because he came in as a rebel. He came in as a goddamn rebel. He was the only person out there that said he wouldn't meet with Israel because he had nothing to say with Israel. He even wouldn't backtrack on Intifada. Now he's softened his spot, which means he's no longer good for the revolution anymore. What are your thoughts? And what I mean by revolution, Kool-Aid, is for the people who are actually for the end of American hegemony, the end of the genocide going on there. The genocide is going on in Africa by war started by Americans. He came in as the new America, which cares about its citizens, because we know that we have people who come from all those parts of the world. That's what New York is. That's why he was brought in. And he's betrayed that movement because he got a little bit uncomfortable. Malcolm X took a bullet and died. Martin Luther King died. Steve Biko died. Mamdani's not at their level. He's just a politician, just like Bernie Sanders and AOC, and he's going to fuck up the movement that he's supposed to be standing for. Marjorie Taylor Greene has more balls than Mamdani right now. Wouldn't you agree? What are your thoughts, Kunle? And that's my point. You can never allow yourself to verbally put forward a narrative which you know is false if you're a philosopher or you're a true leader and thinker, especially a dangerous one, which is the narrative that October 7th was just a heinous attack, and I would guess the death of more than 600,000 other people was just the collateral for it. And by the way, they keep on sticking to this 68,000 people being dead, which is 10 times lower than what is really true. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Yeah, he's trying to back off because he's trying to get the heat off him. And he's just a mayor. I mean, you have to put it in context. It's not like he's not a. We didn't really know about Mamdani up until this time, so we don't really know. He doesn't have a history from where we can say, oh, this has been a strong person. He's just new to the game. Whilst yes, what he's done is disappointing, he's still new. He may decide to get courage.
Right now, here's why Trump is such a genius, or Marjorie Taylor Greene is such a genius. Once you have the microphone and you're a populist, you've now gotten bigger than everybody else. You can do what you want. If Mamdani, he doesn't have to say I like Hamas, but he can take his stance. Yeah, he had the power. He had the opportunity. The power was in his hands, and he gave it up. He went back to and met with some of the Jewish leaders quietly in the back. And he's also making changes now with the economic plans that he has. He led the Jewish lobby.
There's two types of Jewish leaders. There's Zionist Jews and then the actual Jews
no, he met with the rabbis
him that
he met with the rabbis. He met with business leaders and rabbis in New York. But here's the thing. Let me tell you something. In New York, the rabbis and the Hasidic Jews and the Zionists, it's all one group together. They have different interests, but they work together very closely. And then he met with these people at closed door meeting. That's the first red flag. Closed door, private meetings. You're a person. You're supposed to come out and say everything you said in that meeting. What are you trying to hide? Do you see what I'm saying? And the guy had rock star, superstar status as someone that people listen to. So my thing is that he's already compromised what he said he was coming to do. Same thing with Obama. Obama was not what he said he was. And I'm saying that Mamdani is not who he said he is. He's still part of American hegemony because he's backtracking on the thing that was supposed to be most passionate about, the Palestinian movement. He's backtracking on that. That's the first thing. And second of all, he's already making some compromises and conciliations for how businesses and things will work against his socialist manifesto for New York. So all I'm saying is that he's just another disappointment. What are your thoughts, Kunle? So he's a disappointment. AOC was the first in the line of these disappointments. She came in as supposed to be in a left.
He's competing with.
So what I'm saying, you're back. I don't know. You're gonna have to figure this out. All I'm saying is that Mamdani is a disappointment, the same as AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're part of the political machinery, and they're just proof that you can never have a political machinery in America which is truly to the left and which is truly against hegemony and against things like genocide in the Middle East. What are your thoughts, Kunle? Kunle, we can't operate like this anymore. We can't. We can't be doing shows anymore if this is how it's going to be. This is awful. It's very bad. All I said was Mamdani is no different from AOC or Bernie Sanders anymore. He can't beat the system, so he's joining them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He can't beat the system and he's joining, but I don't think he's joining them. I just think he's trying to sideline himself and take the heat off him whilst he concentrates on trying to win the mayorship. I think that's where his focus
Yeah,
is
but
right now.
this is gonna be the continuation of his career. We saw it with Trump. Trump is not a warmonger, but they've already threatened him. So what I'm saying is that Mandani's already been compromised. His whole political career, he's gonna have to deal with City Hall when he becomes mayor. It's to play the game. He's not, and I keep saying this is why you can't look for America to change through its political system, because its political system is owned by money. It's going to have to be through grassroots movement, and they're going to need a change in their constitution, which guarantees certain rights for citizens, which are being grossly abused by the government right now. What are your thoughts?
Yes, of course, it's a grassroots movement that's going to give him any courage to back behind it. He's not going to take the fall. He's not a leader in that respect. He's going to sit in the back seat, and if the grassroots becomes strong enough, he'll join them. But if they're not, he'll back off. He's not
Yeah,
a
but
leader in
my
that.
argument is that he'll actually, if the grassroots becomes strong enough, he'll actually fight them too. Because once he starts tasting that money from APAC and from government, he's going to be weak. That's what I'm saying about Mamdani. He's already showing that he's weak because he's folding in very small battles that he doesn't have to fold. Do you see what I'm saying? So he will actually become like Hakeem Jeffries and co. He will actually start fighting young revolutionaries who come after him because he doesn't want them to be the superstar. He wants to be the superstar. Do you see what I'm saying?